and welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. I am Bonnie Krebs, creator of Watercolor the Art Impressions Way. And last week's project was from an early release, actually a long time ago. And this week I'm going to do the same again. I had such good feedback from that, and those of you who have bought the older sets, maybe a few years ago, I want to make sure that you have the support also, and that you have a video that shows you how to put them together. So this project is actually goes way back to Project Series 2. It's the veranda, and we're going to use that right here. I've used some of these other elements in other projects, but I've never used this one. So we're going to do that this week. So the veranda. We're also going to need a couple of other things. So from the new flower set, we're going to use this one, the long stem, and these little circle hearts right here. We're going to use those two. From the new foliage set, we're going to use the two ivy vines, so the left and the right. From the clay pot, we're going to use this little dried branch right here. And then from the new container sets, the ornate container set, we're going to use this one right here, but we're going to leave the top off. So we're only going to use the bottom half of this container, which is really easy to do because we're using stamps. From this one, so this is the chest of flowers. We're going to use this one right here. Remember, these things are all interchangeable. So if you don't have this specific set, you can use a flower from any of the other ones that you have. I'm just trying to give you a lot of different options and try to use things that maybe I haven't used in the past. So from the foliage set, we're going to use the vine right here. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start out by stamping the basic image, and that would be the veranda. And because we're going to make it white, we're going to ink it with the African violet. So we're just going to take the African violet and ink this all up. So make sure you get that whole thing inked up. And then we're going to stamp it right about in the center of our watercolor paper. So just right about here. That works. That looks pretty good. And if you don't get all of the lines on here, it's okay. Don't worry about that. If things don't stamp on here perfectly, I think it adds to the character of the little painting overall. So never worry about that. Okay, we're going to add the little pot now. And we're going to kind of put this right in the corner of the veranda. So I'm going to use my positioner to make sure that I get it in the right place. And remember, I said I'm only going to use part of it. So I'm going to take this top part off here, and I'm just going to use this bottom part here. So I can just ink that, just the part that I want to use here. So just this area. And I'm also using the African violet. I'm going to stamp it with my using my positioner, and I can put it right about here. And even though I've got a line running through it, it's okay. We're not going to notice that by the time we're finished. So this is good. You can huff on it and you won't have to re-ink it. And that's going to work perfectly right there. Okay, so let's move on to the next step, and that would be to add the water to the line. So we're going to soften those lines using the water. So we're going to dip our brush in water, pinch it off like we always do, and we're going to pull the color. This isn't a good spot for it. Let me move it over here. So we're going to pinch it off, and we're going to pull the color out of the lines. So drag it down and around just like this, and to the inside. This is how we are going to make these columns look rounded, is by showing this blue line, because we can see the highlight in the center, and you can see how that immediately makes that have more dimension. Especially when you compare it to the other one that we haven't done, you can see that it's way more three-dimensional. Don't worry about being careful with this. Really, it's just getting the color spread out here a little bit. We can go completely under this little railing. That's okay. And just come down around here and just kind of follow the lines. You don't have to do this perfectly, which is the great thing about these projects is that they don't have to be perfect. In fact, I say this all the time, but I think they look better when they're not. It makes it look like it's a painting and not a stamp, and that's what we're going for every time. So this line under here, we're going to color that in, and we're going to make a little shadow line right under here. So we're going to take some of this and just darken underneath here. That looks good. Let's do our little pot now. So we're going to pull this color out of the lines, drag it to the center, And we want to be sure to show that highlight also with this, this little pot. All right, there we go. That looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and get our water into the background. This is looking out over the water, and you can do this in a couple of different ways. So maybe you want to show that there's, this is a beach out here. So you could use a sand color and maybe color sand up until the top of the railing and then do the water. I've colored it the easy way, and that's just to fill the whole area in with the watercolor. So up to you. Don't be afraid to try new things. You know, it's always fun to experiment, and never worry about how it's going to turn out. These projects only take a few minutes, and so what if it doesn't turn out perfect the first time? Just try it again. It doesn't take very long. So I'm mixing the tropical water here. So I've used two colors. This is number 101 Tropical. It's actually a little bright. It's called Tropical, but it's really not the color of tropical water. It's a little bright. So I've added some green to it. This is number 15 Olive Green, and one little swipe will do the trick. So that's the cool thing about using markers and using a brush and a palette, is that we can mix the colors. You don't have to have a zillion colors of markers, and maybe you don't quite have the right color. You can mix. It's really, really fun to do that. So we're going to take this color. Make sure you get enough water in here, and keep your hands straight and just brush this color in. Just straight across like this. Try not to drag too much of the blue from the post into here. We really want to see this water look bright. So this bright tropical water. Make sure that line is straight, and you want to come out just a little bit. It's not all just confined in between these columns, so we want to show that it does extend out from the columns. Now you can go down in here. It's really hard to keep your hands straight horizontally when you're doing this area in here, so just get this color in, however. If you have to go up and down, that's okay. Again, be careful you don't get too much of this African violet in here. We really want to see this color stay bright. So just brush this in. Again, you can see that I'm not coloring it in perfectly. I've got a lot of white areas showing, and that's okay. All right, so we've got our water brushed in here. Now let's go on and do our vines. So the vines that crawl up the posts, we're going to go ahead and put those in, and I'm going to use the number 15 Olive Green. This is one of the few times that you actually will use the entire stamp. This is the vine, and rarely do we ever use the whole thing. But when you're doing these types of pictures where you're doing the things that crawl up the column, you can use the whole thing. But you still want to tap it in there a few times. So don't be afraid to do that. And just kind of crawl it up the column. And then when you get to the top, you want to show that we've got some foliage coming down. So let's just kind of extend this out a little bit here, so we can see that the column actually continues. And let's just put a few more little shoots out this way. Let's drag another couple over here and over here. And that's about all we have to do. You can see it looks kind of messy. It always looks kind of messy to me when I'm adding foliage to columns like this, but it's amazing how it all comes together once you add the water. Don't worry that things have to connect. You know, this vine has to wrap around perfectly and connect up here. It really doesn't. Watercolor is just so forgiving that way, and it's really just the idea of it. So it's okay if it doesn't look perfect. And then just dip your brush, pinch it off, add the water. Remember, we're just dabbing, so we're not doing any brush strokes at all. So we're not really painting, although it looks like a painting when we're finished. We're really not doing any brush strokes at all. So avoid the urge to actually like paint all of these little leaves. You want to really just bounce your brush over it. You're just kind of softening all these little lines. So cool, so fun. And you can see that it's starting to look three-dimensional. Now, when you're doing the foliage and stuff, you can get this all mixed into the African violet here, this color that's on the post. You can mix that together. And you can see it really adds a lot to do that. I'm kind of mixing this green all into the blue here. And you can see I'm just jumping my brush around. Don't be afraid to go outside the lines. Look how far outside of the lines I've gone here. Don't be afraid to do that. All right, so we've got our foliage in. Let's go ahead and work on our little pot here. And I'm going to use these little ivies. So this is our right and a left side. I love these little guys. They just work so well. And I'm going to start with the left side, and I left the rim off of this little pot so that I can really hang things over it. So just like this. And maybe I'll put some more up here. And then take some from this side and angle some over like that. And the reason I left this area here is so that I have some room for my blooms. So I want to make sure that I can get some flowers in here, some color. We've got this tropical water, so we need the tropical flowers, which to me are the bright, bright colors. So again, we're just tapping this in here, so just using your brush and just kind of jumping it around. And then we'll add our flowers to it. So we're going to use the little hearts, the little circle hearts. That's these little blooms right here. And I'm just going to use the red. So this is Persimmon, number 89. And just get this in here. So just tap it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, we're just going to tap it in here. Love this red. It's just a really, really bright, vibrant red. I just love it. Okay, so we've got those flowers in here. Let's go ahead and do our foliage, our florals up here. And you can use any. If you don't have this particular one, this is the one that comes with the little chest. If you don't have this one, you can use your little daisies. You can use any of them in the flower set. Feel free to do that. It's okay. That's what's so fun about these, is that there are so many different ways that you can use them and different things that you can use. So I'm using the number 8. This is a violet. And I'm just stamping this in here a couple of times. And getting this purple in here. You just put it wherever. You can see that I'm kind of concentrating it to the white areas. It's going to show up better that way if you keep most of it in the white spots. Let's just put another one here. And that looks pretty good. Get a few in there, or get a bunch in there, and add the water to it and kind of see what you've got. You can always come back in and add some more. Don't overload it. You don't have to have a bloom on every vine or with every leaf. And again, we're just dabbing at this color. You can see how that just pops this color out. Makes it so bright. And again, this one down in here. And don't be afraid to add a few more, you've got a lot of pigment on your brush just from dabbing. You can add some little tiny blooms in the background. Just tap them in. It's okay. It's just fun. And we are getting about to the end. We're going to do one more little thing. And that is to add just a few little stems in there. I just love doing this. I think it adds a lot just to put a few of these little stems in here like this. So I'm only inking a few. So just this edge right here. And just kind of, put them a little random, just kind of wherever. There we go. I think we've just got one more little stamp to add, and that's this little long stem. And I'm going to use the Prussian blue. And I'm just going to ink the bloom with the Prussian blue. And then the stem, with the olive green. And just kind of put this in. So ink it again. See, a few times, just get that in there a few times. You can put as many of these in as you want. And then just add the water. You can see how that changes the shape so much when you add the water, and it just completely saturates the color, which I love. Let's put some sky in here, and that is just bright blue. This is a number 100, so sapphire. And make sure that's really watered down, and let's just put a little blue sky in here. Remember just the idea of it. And if you kind of leave your horizon white, don't drop that sky all the way down. It'll kind of give you the idea of clouds in the background. Kind of a cool look. And you can get this blue mixed into the green. That's perfectly fine. Let's just add a little more color back in here. And we are about finished with our little tropical scene on the veranda. So fun to do and easy, so easy. This is one of the easiest projects, and yet there's a lot of really fun ways that you can use it. So don't be afraid to try this one. All right, one thing left to do, and that is to sign a date. This one, because it's so large, would be a great one to put into a frame or put it on an oversized card and give it away. You are going to make someone's day. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and I will see you all next week.